Welcome back, everybody. Today is the third lesson of Advanced Python, and so far we've been trying to cover the the basics of Python. But after this, we will cover some advanced topics. For instance, today we will talk about higher order function. Last week, we learned about list comprehension, and I think you saw the power of list comprehension. And let's start by creating another folder, WEEK-3, and then maybe let's just make it similar, it has a, okay, great. Then I will just create a file called hof.py. I'm just writing like higher order function. You can just call it any name you want, but I'm just call it like that for you just to remember that this file is responsible for all the higher order function. Okay, what does that higher order function means? Yeah, so if a function takes another function as a parameter, we call it a higher order function. Okay, or if, to definition, if a function return another function as a value, we call it a higher order function. Great. Really? So if a function takes another function as a parameter, we call it a higher order function. Then let's see. By now, I think everybody knows how to make function. You need the def word, the reserved word, and then followed by name of a function, name of a func, and then you need a parenthesis. Inside the parenthesis, you may or may not have a parameter. Yeah, most of the time we should have, because if you don't have a parameter, it doesn't really make sense. But for the timing, let's just leave it like that. And then I may just return. If you don't return anything from your function, then there is nothing. Yeah. Now I may say some value from here. Yeah. Now this function has to be called. We call this actually declaration. We declared a function with a name of func, and it returns some value. The value is returning is now is a string. If I return something like this, I'm returning a list. If I am just returning this, I'm returning a number. If I just return this or this, I'm returning a Boolean. So we may return different data types. Yeah, so for the time being, let's just return this string. Okay, so to get the value, we have to invoke it. We have to call the function. So I can say print name of the function. Now I'm invoking it. I'm calling it. I'm using the function we made. So let's run this function by clicking over here, and I should see the value, some value from here. Okay, this name is not a very good name, so let's change this to, for instance, make square. And everybody know the make square function. What it does is actually, it just turns the square of a number. So we can say n times n. So now this function doesn't exist anymore, and we have to change this function to make square. Yep, make square. Now this takes argument. If you have a parameter, you have to pass an argument value. For instance, 2. Yeah, 2 square is actually 4, right? Yes. And you can reuse this function. I just call it many times. If I say 3, actually it's going to be 9. And if I change this to 10, it's going to be 100. Yeah, so I want to see everyone if this is very clear for you. So what we saw is actually by writing function, by declaring a function, and then we called it. And this function has a parameter n, and we just return the multiplication of a number by itself, right? And then here we called the function 3 times. Yeah, here, here, and here. So could you please type 1 for me if everything what I explained is clear? If that's the case, please just type 1 for me. Okay, great.
I have a small question. Is it crucial to make this space between the return? Let's say if I put the print right after the word return, would it still work, or it just doesn't look so nice? That's why we're leaving a space
like
in
this.
between. Yeah, like the print, like if we would put it like, let's say in line number 6, not the 9 numbers, like without space, would it still work, or it just
it works. It should work. It should work.
It just doesn't look so nice. That's why.
It works, and it's just for me. I usually just create one space just for readability purpose.
Okay. Okay. Thanks.
But these spaces, this kind of space, are mandatory. This space is mandatory.
Mandatory. Okay.
Yeah, because if you just return now, it doesn't say anymore return. As you can see, the word return doesn't exist anymore. So there are some spaces that are mandatory. So maybe sometimes if you have match expression, you may use the curly bracket. So for instance, if you are doing some other operation also, for instance, here n square by 3 plus 10, have you seen this long, right?
Yes.
Sometimes to be safe, we use this parentheses. So after the calculation, we store it here. So we are returning this value. Even what we can do first, before that, just calculate everything and we put it in the calc, and then we return the calc. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
But in here we have just a very little expression, small expression, so nothing to worry about. Okay, now let's make cube. Make a cube, and it says it takes n as in a parameter and returns n the power of 3. That's a cube, right? Yeah. Now let's see. But another way of making a cube is actually, I can say print make a square, make square n, for instance 2. Do you think this is a cube? This. Yeah. So this means I'm trying to do 2 times 2, this one, the make square do this part, and then the external 2 is actually doing this. So it's, yeah. So now we can make use of the make square actually inside here. Okay, then instead we can say make square n, as you can see, times n. So am I still all right, guys? Do you think this is okay? Great. So this is clear for you. But as you can see, I want to use this make square not to come from global, but I want to make it as in a parameter. Okay. So instead, I should have said it some random func, which is coming here. And then I can also call here, hey, func. And then I can make this function actually reusable. So as you can see, this take function as in a parameter. So when I am calling it, I can say print make a cube, and it takes one function, and now in this case, I will take mix square. And when you call the mix square as in a parameter over here, you don't call it. It's just a placeholder here. It will be called inside. So just put it like this. Then if I put 2, now actually this has to print 8 for me. Oh yeah, 8. Now let's do more. If I change this to 3, and it should give me 27. Oh yeah, so now you tell me if I put 10, I think you should get 10 by 10, 100 and 1000. Yep, great. So now what we learned based on this definition, if a function takes another function as a parameter, we call it a higher order function. So we passed it here as in a parameter, and we made or use of this function inside. So this is actually a higher order function. I have to give you some time to visualize. Is it sinking? Maybe I think I can make another function more function. For instance, let's say def print a full name a function, okay? And we have first name and last name here. And this function returns returns full name. So first name class last name. And as you can see, this function just do only the full name. Maybe we can have another function def person get person info, get person info. And this is a bit, it takes much information. I can say, hey, func, maybe the age and maybe the country and skills, even maybe skills, whatever. And now if I say return, maybe I can say full name should be func. I have to get it here. But even the func, we should pass it even here, first name and last name. So then we can just pass the first name and the last name. Now I'm just getting the full name. Then we may say other information, what's here? To return, for instance, I am, then plus, I think, do you remember this, the string interpolation? That's much better. I can use this, I am, and then full name. I think I'm mixing this Python with JavaScript. Okay, I'm mixing it here, full name. I am age, years old. I live in the country. So I can inject that country, sorry, country. And then I have these skills again. I have the skills, I can join them. Do you remember how to join? I can say dot join and then the skills. And now I think why? So I can return this, and there shouldn't be. And I forgot F, and we don't need this tick. Instead, I have to use just normal quote. Sorry for that. And for some reason we have, as you can see, the reason why I'm having this, I have this, the outer should be at least, or maybe I think I can change the internal to be double quote. Yeah, now I may not have that. So how do we invoke this function? Let's call print get person info. So in the place of the func, now I have to use print full name here. Print full name, but I don't have to call. Then I have to call pass my name and my last name as in an argument, and then my age, everybody knows, 250, and the skills, the country, Finland, as it says, and the skills, you can just pass skills. Okay, guys, I have a question. It says skills. What kind of data type are you expecting here? Yeah, list, HTML, maybe. Yes, 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 and the JS, and why not Python? Yes, and then let's just stop in here. I'm expecting some result from here. Oh yeah, I must have any time. I am 250 years old. I live in Finland. I have HTML, CSS, JavaScript, and Python. If we want, as you can see, dollar, my age is in dollar. Nice. Okay, so we have to remove this. I just put that by mistake. I thought we are using JavaScript, but now, and this, as you can see, there's no comma in between. So let's add comma between the lists. How do we do that? Here, when we are joining, we can put this comma followed by space. That's the proper grammar, right? Yes, as you can see, I am a Sabine. I am 25 years old. I live in Finland and I have HTML, CSS, JavaScript, and Python. Or maybe if you want skills, or I have these skills, such as I have these skills, such as, yeah. And okay, now this is a higher order function. Why? Because we have used this function as in a parameter. Yep. So, and we passed it here as in an argument. See, this is one of the definition of a higher order function. Is it clear so far? Can you just type one for me if you understood what I'm trying to do? So it's like you pass a function as in a parameter in another function. So now let's go to the second definition. Now we return it. Now let's create a random example. No sure about join method. Oh, okay, join method. You have no idea what join is. Okay. The join is actually, let me show you, print. You have a list, okay? You have a list of like maybe numbers 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah. So these are lists. One of the way to change them to a string is actually you can just join with something. Join, and then you pass it here. And then the plan is actually I can join these numbers as in string. Let's see. As the sequence expected str int found. Yeah, because this should be most of the time, it should be just a kind of, yeah, maybe like a string, Finland. And let's go Sweden, right? It should be string. And then Denmark. And then Norway. Yes, this is good enough for now. And I may show you, yeah. As you can see, I managed to join them together. Why all of them are together? Because there is no space here. You can add space, and then now you will see the space. Finland, Sweden, Denmark, Norway. But most of the time we do comma followed by one space. That would be nice, right? Oh yeah. But can you add question mark or whatsoever inside here between? Of course, why not? Okay, let's check it out and then see. Oh yeah. So it's, yeah. So whenever you have a list, you can join them together with some pattern. Is it clear now? Yeah, so maybe you can add in between a hash or whatsoever. Yes, the one you are going to join should be a list. Yep. Should be a list. This should be a list. This part should be a list. And then I have seen you, and also it should be a list of strings. Yeah, a list of strings instead of numbers. Great. Let's move on. Now we cleared out the, and it's very powerful method, guys. Don't undermine the join. You may need it to solve quite a lot of problem. Yeah. So remember that this powerful method that allows you to join list items with some fancy pattern, you can just join them all together and it doesn't make sense, because if you try to read this, it doesn't give anything. Okay, then let's just have a space. Now at least it's just okay, but that's not how we write the English language. Usually there should be a comma, right? Yes. As you can see now, there's a comma in between the countries, but still, yeah, I think we need at least one space. When you add that one space, it will be formatted and you will see it here. Yep. Yes, this is preferable. Yeah. Okay, maybe even if you want to challenge yourself, if you want to write Finland, Sweden, Denmark, and Norway, how do you do that? Okay, I'm not going to solve that. Think about it. It's just so easy. So I will just let this for you to think about it. Instead of like printing, I have this skills such as HTML, CSS, JavaScript, Python. So it should say, I have this skill such as HTML, CSS, JavaScript, and Python. Yes, think about that. Great. Now let's move on to the second definition, actually returning another function. So it looks like, let's write def some higher order function. And now what we want to return, actually, we want to return another function. Okay, maybe we can have the function here, def do something, the do something function, and as you can see, we return, of course, do something. And then if we return do something, as you can see, this function is do something. Then we call this actually higher order function. Let's do it. Okay, what's the name of the function? Print. The name of the function is some higher order function, okay? This is some higher order function. And then this some higher order function actually has another function, do something inside. And we are returning this function. Okay, let's see. As you can see, this function is returning the function. So as you can see, we are returning it. So returning a function doesn't, after we return the function, we have to invoke it. Sorry, yeah, I have to invoke this function. I didn't invoke it. Yeah, if I invoke it also, I am just getting another function. Function name, or the function do something. Yeah, so this do something is actually inside there. So I have to invoke it again. If I invoke now, do something will be printed out. Do something. Oh, yeah. Okay. Okay. Okay, let's leave this as an example. On top of this, let's create another higher order function. Def do some math. So it's going to do some mathematics here. And then I may say def add 10. Okay. Then this function actually what it does, I have to pass an argument over here. For instance, if I have n, so all the time this function add 10 to the n number. So now I want to return add 10 because a higher order function should return another function. So one of the definition, right? So do some math, print, do some math, and the do some math actually takes a parameter. For instance, if I add 10, what do I get? Nothing, because it's not yet printed, because the add 10 should be printed. The add 10 should be also called. To call the inside function, I have to invoke it again. Now we should get 20, right? Yes, 20. But instead of invoking it outside, you can invoke it also here. But if you invoke it inside, it's not anymore a function this. Instead, it's a value, right? Because if you invoked it, it's the value already. You invoked it and the value is stored. So you don't have to invoke it here. So that's good enough. But it's up to what you want to use that function for. As you can see, it's 20 and you can do it more. And if I just put, for instance, 5, when you add 10, it should be 15, right? Yeah. Okay, maybe sometimes let's do some math. Okay, instead of let's start, I create another function. Dave, do just math. Do math is going to do quite a lot of mathematics. For instance, Dave add numbers. Yeah, add nums. It takes A and B, and it should return the sum, A plus B, right? And def difference of two numbers, whatever, I call it AB, and I return the difference, A minus B. I want to have a space in between. I don't like. Okay, multiply. Of course, def multiply. Line B, and we return A plus B. Whatever, but this is good enough already. So how do we return all these three functions? How do we? Because in function, in function in any programming, we can only return one value. Multiply. Okay.
But I believe that we want to multiply it and we are returning A plus.
Thank you so much. Yeah. Oh, great. So how do we return these guys? Because we return one value at a time. And if I say add nums and the difference, but by the way, Python is a bit powerful that if you just leave like this, and if you return, actually return all these values as in a tuple. Yeah, let me show you. So print do math, and if you just invoke this, invoke means calling, you will see these functions as in tuples. Okay, I will show you. Of course, not yet. I think after this, wait. I have to see. Yeah, as you can see, I can see them as in a tuple, as in this function, the add, and also the difference, and then also this, the multiply. So how do we make use of them? Actually, we can make use of them, but this is not a very good way of returning them because tuple is not very handy. So I would say returning them, a dictionary would be good. So you can say add nums to add nums, difference to difference, as in a dictionary, multiply to multiply. Now let's again see what kind of data structure we have. And of course, now as you can see, we should, where does it start? Okay, yeah, here, but I'm expecting The dictionary. Yeah, of course. Yeah, in Python, I'm thinking in JavaScript, I have to change these guys to key, right? This guy should be as in a key. Yeah, so now we see clearly that the addnums got this function and the difference got this function and the multiply got this function. But we can invoke them if you invoke them, but the problem of invoking them, if you invoke them in advance, there is no way to pass a value. So now I can access the add nums. Yeah. After I access, let me show you. Now I'm just accessing one of the function. As you can see, add nums, after that, I can invoke. For instance, if you add 1 and 9, it's going to be 10, right? Or maybe 1 and 4. Let's just make it so easy. Yeah, 5, as you can see. 5. Can I do multiplication? Of course, yes. Print, do math. And then first you have to invoke the math, and then you get a dictionary. From that dictionary, you have to extract one of the methods difference, okay? Inside the difference, I may just invoke 99, maybe 100, we have 100, and 1. 100 minus 1, I think you are expecting 99, right? Yes, 99, yes. Well, do you want to do the multiply? Yes, print do math. And then we have to invoke it, and then we have to multiply. And if we multiply 10 by 4 or whatsoever, I can just get now 40, right? What? Multiply. I think there's L somewhere. Multiply. Okay. Yes, 40. I think this is what you should know about higher order function. Yep, of course, you can invoke these values in advance. Maybe another way of writing the same function if you want. Okay, why do I care? Like I can pass the value here, for instance, AB, and then you can actually, again, invoke this. Even you don't have to have this, actually. You don't have to have this. You don't have to have this. And then you can just invoke them in advance. Invoke them in advance. Now, this should take the value. Just 1, 4. I think 1, 4. But how do we determine? Yeah, so what you should do, 1, 4. Now, if I just pass 1, 4, that should, let's see. I made a mistake. Oh, there should be 1, 4. Have you seen? No, it's just because I pass it here, because it's invoked. The values just stored, then I'm just getting it as a dictionary. Yep. Oh, okay. So let me try to just provide the Zoom link. Yeah, it's going to be the same. Okay, good. Yeah, is it clear, guys? Did you manage to visualize what I'm doing? Yeah, so, oh, great. If you understand this, it's really very important. Now, let's just stop this recording here because we have covered higher order function. Just to recap, if a function takes another function as in a parameter, we call it a higher order function. An example, the cube, the make cube. So this function is a parameter and you call it inside. And whenever you use it here, for instance, make cube, for this function placeholder, we use the make square. And n is as in a parameter. Here also it was, so n here is a number because here is an argument and here is a parameter, or a parameter can be related to a placeholder. And the other definition is actually returning a function. So we saw also returning a function in many ways. For instance, do some math has a function inside and we return this function. Yeah, but most of the time without calling, we just return the function itself. If we call it, actually, we are invoking it and we are returning a value, not a function. So this is actually what higher order function. Why we need them? Because like some of the functional programming like map, filter, reduce, and maybe other functions also use anonymous function as in a callback or a higher order function as in a parameter like this. And then I will keep talking about those in the next lesson. Now let's close the higher order function here.